a new generation is very, very excited about. So I was talking to my friend Larry Layden about the fact that I wanted to have a presentation, these kind of technologies. He says, well, my son Luke is working in that area. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to have a new generation of Layden come and tell us what's possible in technology, right? Larry, you've been at how many of these conferences? 10-ish? Yeah. And Luke is Larry's son. And he's going to talk about a case study he's working on around using social tokens and Web 3.0 to improve customer satisfaction. And as you listen to Luke, I want you to transpose the concepts of how we might improve visibility, our insights into the network, and our ability to improve customer service. So let me introduce Luke. He is the strategic lead for CoinDesk. CoinDesk is a very interesting company, and he's been working on community-based blockchain products, right? So while we think blockchain's far out there and lots of issues, CoinDesk is a cryptocurrency native news platform, and he leads the Desk project that he's going to talk to you about. It is a tokenized engagement platform to drive customer satisfaction. So Luke, come on up. Tell us your story, and tell us how we use these technologies and what's real and what's not. All right? Give Luke the stage. Okay, thank you.
Okay, hi, my name is Luke Layden. I am the strategic lead for Desk, which is CoinDesk. You guys all just heard that, but it's CoinDesk social token, currently used for an engagement rewards program that we are setting up at Desk. Let's see. And really at the core of what we're doing is trying to use a blockchain technology, a social token, to incentivize engagement from our audience and align them with different objectives that we have as a business. So I'm going to go through, just give you a general intro of myself, talk about social tokens, Desk, and then how we're using Desk in a few different use cases. Yeah, I've been working in the Web3 blockchain space for a while. Initially, I worked on a tokenized social media platform that was trying to use blockchain technology to kind of address some of the ills that we are seeing in social media. I don't know if that's possible, having tried to do it. We gave it a shot, and then I also briefly worked for an NFT platform before going over to CoinDesk to stand up their social token program. So what is a social token? A social token is a little bit different than an NFT. I would say it's probably one of the newer use cases for this type of technology, whereas like NFTs was really the big splash last year. Social tokens are coming around now. Social tokens they're fungible crypto tokens that can be used to empower, incentivize, and reward community in the Web3 space. So a few examples that I've put out here is Friends with Benefits. Friends with Benefits has the FWB token. What digital creators and Web3 creators are able to buy in to purchase the FWB token, it raises entry. It goes from like 10 FWB tokens to I think it's 75 FWB tokens now. And the price also increases with each incremental investment. So as more people buy in, the price goes up. And the money that's collected through this kind of fundraising model through the FWB is then redistributed into community-driven projects that are funded by the fundraising, obviously, of the access to the group. And then they are decided using proposals that have utilized that same token as a governance token, right? Being able to say, hey, I own, I'm a shareholder, right? I have, 200 shares of FWB, and I think we should make an NFT music video or something like that. And that's typically how things are run. It's all on chain, so it's verifiable, and it's very clear who has power and who's making decisions. And it's just kind of a distribution. Everybody buys in, right? And you get access, and you also are able to get dividends as well. And then you have another use case, global coin research, which is a research community really focused on cryptocurrency and Web3. You can buy in by purchasing GCR tokens. That gives you access to their Discord channel and their social channels, where you get to have access to kind of more cutting-edge research that gives you information largely about investing, where it comes to like the market, movements in tokens. This is where people go to hear about new projects. They'll come in, they'll host up-and-coming projects that will then come and give like some sort of like pitch to the community, and then the community can then invest. And it's really just access-based for people buying in. There's also people who are, Web3 is developing in a very decentralized way, right? There's no real Web3 programming at universities or things like that. So the community is also dispersed. And people are starting to try to figure out how to gain relevance inside of the community, and one of the ways is to go through, something like GCR, where you can submit your research in a decentralized way, get paid in terms of access. You could then sell that coin. Yeah, and then just another like recap in terms of like what Web3 is. Web3 is really focused on taking the existing philosophy and infrastructure of the internet and moving it away from centralized powers that control most of our data and honestly our experiences online, like Google, Facebook, things like that, and moving them to more community-driven projects that are empowered using blockchain technology and tokenization. Okay, so what is Desk? Desk is an ERC20 token that lives on the Polygon mainnet. I won't get too technical here, but an ERC20 token is a different type of Ethereum token. NFTs, right? NFTs are ERC721 or ERC115. Those are two different, basically like protocols for creating NFTs for different use cases. ERC20 is basically like the mixture between an NFT and a special use case token. Polygon is a network. It's basically a protocol that works alongside Ethereum. Who here is aware of the Ethereum blockchain in this space? Okay, cool. So there's several different blockchains, right? You've heard like Bitcoin has its own blockchain, Ethereum has its own blockchain, Solana has its own blockchain. There's different blockchains with different communities and different purposes. Ethereum is really rising as kind of this early player for this different type of blockchain where it goes beyond, where Bitcoin is really just like a financial use case. Ethereum's looking to become kind of the backbone, the infrastructural backbone for the decentralized web, the Web3 web. And Polygon, what Polygon does is basically, it's a network that works off of that main blockchain, the main Ethereum mainnet, to basically increase scalability, performance, and lower gas fees. Every time you take a transaction on a blockchain, you have to pay a gas fee. And on Ethereum mainnet, because of the speculation on the token, it can be kind of expensive. I've paid $200 to do a single transaction on the Ethereum mainnet. So that's kind of cost prohibitive when you're trying to scale up. CoinDesk has 30 million monthly users, and so that's quite a few people that we have to reach that a lot of them probably don't have, a stipend from their job that they get to pay $200 to, take a simple transaction. So it's really important that we lower the barrier of entry and focus on accessibility in the space, at least for me. We've minted 5 billion tokens. Minted just means to create the tokens, and we plan to do 5 billion more. We're not going to do a limited supply. This is a new concept, and it's something that I've been pushing for at CoinDesk, but there was this conversation about, do we monetize the token? Do we not monetize the token? What value does it add if we don't monetize it? I kind of told them, I came in pretty early after theirs, but they had already kind of decided to Desk, and they asked me the question, and I was like, you're going to have to hire like 12 lawyers if you're going to monetize the token, because the SEC and just like regulators are just all on top of it. So I was like, if we go with the non-monetized approach, we can show that these tokens provide value. Social value is really what they're activating here, right? Like where you see NFTs are really activating the value of ownership. What social tokens do is they basically recognize the value that you're adding to a different community, and it gives you different access and rewards for doing that. And I said, let's use the blockchain and focus on non-monetized value and social value, and think about how we can build out utility and social value. Really, it's an experiment CoinDesk is essentially a centralized media company. You know what I mean? There's a group of editors and journalists who sit around and say, what should we cover? And they come up with what they think people want to read, and then they blast it out. And there's not much feedback, right? There's no really participation or even feedback from the audience. And it's just basically a one-directional line of communication where we tell people what to think. That's not really crypto native thinking, right? The crypto native is all about democracy. It's all about giving people control over the systems that they're adding value to. So we said, how do we apply this same model to media? And Desk is the first start of that. We're focusing on basically returning the value that we're earning from engagement, whether it be through our event ticket sales or through our ad revenue, and returning that back to our users in the form of basic tokenized, a blockchain airline miles. That's not what I'd like to see. It's been around for a year. I hope it's going to be more than that, but it's a good start. You can redeem Desk for NFTs, physical goods. We have kind of endemic crypto native rewards that you can buy. You can buy like hardware ledgers, or you can get, we work with sponsors, so you can get $100 worth of Bitcoin in a certain account and these kinds of things. Sponsors are, that's a great way that we can play into their user acquisition strategy. It's a huge part of this, is working out and finding ways to subsidize the cost of this. And they can also use the tokens to get token-gated access, which is something that I'm going to talk about in a second. We also allow for tokenized voting. It's something that we're going to grow to more in the future. Our first use case I'll talk about in a second. But in the future, we'd really like to see tokenized voting be more in line with the kind of DAO, tokenized community model I talked about of FWB, where the community is really kind of dictating the roadmap forward, right? We're saying, hey, what should we do next? And the community gets dictated. We currently have 8,000 people who have Desk in their wallets, and we have a Discord community of about 4,000. So the first use case that we've used Desk for is our event structure. CoinDesk runs a variety of different events, our main one being the Consensus Festival, which can draw in last year, about 20,000 people came last year for Consensus 22. And we originally debuted Desk in beta. It was on a virtual beta. It was a virtual conference. People were able to basically earn it in the chat during like a virtual conference. I wasn't a part of this, but I was essentially a very early beta where people would be able to earn it for attending sessions, and then able to buy NFTs that our internal designers had created. When I came aboard, we tried to look at it, Consensus was now moving away from this kind of virtual conference, moving to like more of a cultural, trying to be the home of crypto type festival, where we had music and we had different artists, and we had like an NFT gallery and a metaverse zone, and something that was like a lot more immersive, more of a festival experience. And I was tasked to figure out how Desk would fit into that. So Desk was essentially the tokenized layer on top of the festival, where users were able to engage, whether it be at, you arrive there, and actually I'll play through the user journey. So people would arrive in Austin, and they would sign up, they would scan something I'll talk about in a second, that would basically verify that they were an attendee and basically unlock the Desk experience for them. They would go just like you're doing now, and I'd be like, okay, and now it's time to earn Desk, and there would be a QR code that would come up. Users would then point their wallet, their native wallet, at the QR code with the camera. They'd scan it with their camera, and they would connect their wallet and complete the transaction where Desk would go into their wallet. They then could take that Desk into their wallet, and they could buy coffee, beer, food. They could go. We paired with a bunch of local NFT artists who made different really cool merch that we made. That was probably the most popular thing that people spent it on. They could also use it in our virtual stores to participate in some of our NFT initiatives that we were doing. I think one of the most successful things actually happened the first year, but it's really talking about what a social token can do in terms of access. And access is a huge part of a community, especially when you think about, I was talking about leadership earlier and talking about getting access to leadership. So Barry Silbert is the CEO of DCG. DCG is the Digital Coin Group. It's essentially a titan in the cryptocurrency space, and he's a very, very nice, also very, very powerful person. Somebody who was very passionate about the space, a self-educated individual, came to Consensus and learned about Desk and did everything that he needed to do to earn as much Desk as possible. He was the #1 Desk holder for Consensus 21. And he spent it all on a 20-minute conversation with Barry, the CEO of DCG. And his whole plan was to tell him, here's the skills that I have, here's where I want to work, here's why, and all of these things. And he sat down and he pitched him, and he ended up walking out of there with a job at Grayscale, one of the subsidiaries of DCG. So if you think about it, like really what happened, the utility that was given to him was just access to somebody else in the community that was just a little bit too far removed into a normal setting, right? It wasn't anything crazy, it wasn't monetary, but it essentially changed the trajectory of his life. Consensus 22 was our full launch where it was outside. We had a lot of really great learnings there. The biggest one is so interesting because it was the greatest social token scale project that's ever been released. And their biggest downfall was that we didn't print the signs early enough, so that we had to print off pieces of paper that then had to be attached to signs. And people were going and taking down the pieces of paper and trying to basically like loot the signs. So ultimately it was this high-tech project with a very low-tech vulnerability. We ended up fixing it. We got that like cement that they put on, in the cities when they put up concert posters and stuff like that, and that stayed. But it was a very interesting lesson learned there. We had about 16% of attendees participate. They took about 22,000 transactions. They spent about $20,000 at the store of value and on food. And next year, we're really going to be focused on the user experience and also the scalability and the physical design. One thing that I want to say, we were talking about NFTs and access. One of the great things about NFTs, I'm not huge on the artwork NFTs. I think it's great. I think NFTs' best use case is money laundering, just like fine art. And that's why people liked it initially, especially, I was kind of watching it on the ground, and it was really interesting to see the kind of people that were coming out and wanting to get involved. And, I work for this gallery, but I'm, talking to this VC, and I'm not sold on the art thing. But what it is great for is identity, because you can have this very unique token that proves, something about your identity, whether it's, you're a verified supplier in the chain, or for us, what we needed to verify was that the people who were scanning the QR codes on the ground were actual Consensus attendees, right? We were subsidizing the value, and we were taking that out of the money that we were making off of their attendance. And if those QR codes were, linked or leaked or like shared on Twitter, right, all of a sudden the value would be given to people who weren't necessarily providing that value. So what we did was we created a non-transferable NFT that each user had to, like I said, they had to check in and they had to basically put their phone on this like NFC puck, and it just loaded a non-transferable NFT into their wallet. And then they had to then use that wallet to scan the QR code. When they scanned the QR code, we verified in the background that that NFT was present. We first did a scan to look for the NFT. If the NFT was there, then the smart contract would distribute Desk to the user. Okay, and then I'm going to take questions here in a second, but this is the last little piece. This is something new, so I don't have to share too much about this, but we're going to take this onto the media platform here towards the end of the year. That's what we're working on right now. So just as we use it as Desk at Consensus, where the depth of your engagement equaled the size of your reward, the same will be true on media. We'll be selectively tokenizing different content that aligns with our business objectives, specifically being our goal to grow the Consensus Festival as a kind of pillar of the crypto year. And so we'll be rolling out tokenized content where users will be able to read articles, take quizzes, complete quests, watch videos, podcasts, any sort of like different types of engagement like that, and be able to use Desk. We'll also be enabling wallet-only accounts, which is a big part of Web3. There's just alongside kind of decentralization, interoperability, data rights, there's also a huge focus on identity and not wishing to basically share your identity every time you create like a Gmail account, right? Like I should just be able to create a Gmail account without giving you my name and birthday and all of this information about myself. And the answer for that in the Web3 space is making the wallet basically stand in for your identity. And so we're really trying to court those types of users with this wallet-only account. Like I said, we're going to be selectively tokenizing it to basically focus on consensus content to spread awareness around what consensus can offer different people. We're also tokenizing our educational content because there's definitely a learning curve. It's like just kind of the state of the industry. We try to make it as user-friendly and intuitive as possible, but there's definitely a learning curve, and there's definitely a lot to learn about what you're taking part of when you use Desk. And so we're also incentivizing users to learn more by tokenizing educational materials as well. Same thing with sponsorship. We're potentially going to use sponsors to cover the gas fees so that when users interact with the systems, they don't have to get the transaction fees, and then I'll be taken care of by the sponsors. And we can also, like I said, use sponsorships as part of like our value strategy, where we're able to give, you can exchange your Desk for $100 worth of Bitcoin in a Luna account or something like that. This kind of lays the foundation for what I was talking about earlier, that community-driven roadmap. We'll never, I don't think CoinDesk will ever fully hand over the keys to development over to the community. That's a driver in a lot of different a lot of different a lot of different groups inside the Web3 space want to create what they're calling decentralized autonomous organizations, where there is no true owner. It's owned by a community, and your holding and your space in the community is dictated by your engagement with the community itself. I don't see us going there, but there is an emerging model where it says instead of ownership, and instead of engaging gets you ownership, engaging gets you influence. And so we can go and talk to our users. I mean, it's kind of a good strategy because we're constantly trying to look at data analytics or look at heat maps or go and interview a few different people to try and figure out like what users are thinking and what they want, right? There's all this like tea leaf reading that goes into it. But really, tokenized voting is saying like, okay, what do you want, right? Here's 5 different proposals. Put your tokens where you want to go. And it allows us to say, okay, we know that if we build this, 60% or 70% of our most engaged users are like wanting a product like this. So it allows us to kind of take less risks and spread the idea of kind of building together, which is a huge theme in the Web3 space. So now I'll just kind of take...
I'm going to put you to work.
Okay, yeah.